but like my whole cheek is smeared with blood because I got a bloody nose. And they're like, oh, Brady's wearing the damage. Dude, after that fight, I had no bruises, no cuts, no even scrapes on my face.
Download the AllStar app. Make your picks for UFC fights, challenge your friends, level up and win prizes. Link in description. Get it now. Brady, you're in Vegas. You're at the PI. So you're in Vegas during UFC 290?
Yes, sir.
Were you at the arena?
I wasn't at the fights, but I ended up doing a watch party over at Circa Stadium Swim.
Okay.
And so I went over there, and they like had a bunch of other guys, like Joaquin Buckley was there, Adrian Yanez, and a few other guys. So we all watched it at the Stadium Swim, which was pretty cool. Got to meet some fans. It was a good experience.
Is that the place where there's all the swimming pools and then the big screens are in that place?
Yeah, where it's almost like a big arena, but instead of
Yeah.
just seats or like places to sit, it has like pools and stuff all over the place.
Nice.
Yeah,
Yeah, man. Someone Volkanovski, right? He completely goes in there and dominates Yair Rodriguez, who a lot of people thought was a major threat. He made it look kind of easy. What was it like watching that fight?
Well, and he was a major threat. Obviously, Volk made it look easy, but even Volk said afterwards, it's like that guy is so dynamic and so all over the place. Like he's so unpredictable and he's so good at setting up his unpredictability that he's a challenge for everyone. But Volka is such such a professional and such a man that he prepared for that and took like you said, he took tools away by switching stances and stuff like that. So I'm not surprised, but it's surprising how well he did it. You know, it was super cool to watch.
Yeah, and when you are around him, you know what I mean, you know the type of guy he is, but when you see him train, it doesn't seem like he's that, like, certain guys you see in the room and they train and you're like, yeah, that dude is fucking he's a killer. But Volk, I think he just makes it look easy for everybody, or maybe you see it differently.
Dude, I think it's the way, like his mindset in training. Like there's a lot of people that go in there. And I feel like when I was younger, I was a big, I did this a lot too. It's like you want to go and win every battle in the gym. When going in the gym is where you learn. And that's where he is such, like, I think I've learned a lot from him in the fact that he goes in and he puts himself in these bad positions in order to learn. Like he's not afraid that he puts himself in the bad positions and he's going to get subbed by a guy maybe that's not even in the UFC or something like that. He's not afraid of that because he's going in to train to learn these positions and he learns how to win the next fight. The fight's not in the gym, the fight's in the arena. And I think that's why he does so good and why he's so good everywhere because he's not afraid to go there in training. He's not afraid to, grapple with Craig Jones and play bottom guard or something like that. I could see him doing weird stuff like that just because he wants to learn the positions in order to be the best fighter he can be.
Yeah, it seems like he's good at taking away his ego and just kind of going in there as a white belt. A lot of people say this. And how can ego like screw over a fighter? Do you see a lot of that happening?
I see, like, I haven't seen anyone get like screwed over, by each other, but I've seen, egos in the gym. Like you don't want to lose. And especially it's like you see it from guys that like have a chip on their shoulder, especially like you notice it once you like are drilling. Like if you start drilling and they're just like going super hard and they're trying to win in the drilling, you're like, damn, this guy, like you can just tell, you know. But you don't need that in the gym. Like that's not where you're gonna make your money. You don't want to go and hurt yourself in the gym because you want to beat up this random dude that just walked in.
Definitely. And you have a fight coming up. Are you gonna stay the rest of the time in Vegas and just train there and close up preparations?
I'm not sure exactly if I'm gonna stay. Definitely gonna stay for most of July. Me and the whole team come out. We come as a pair, like me, Mike, my buddy Ashton, our coach Rick Little, and a few other train partners all come out to Vegas together and get ready. So I'm gonna be here for at least the rest of Mike Hiesta's camp because he's fighting July 28th, I believe, in Salt Lake City.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it must be so good to be at the PI too, right? You just save so much money being down there because everything's free.
I know it's crazy. I have a house back home, and somehow I come to Vegas and I actually save money. I'm like saving money. I don't have to think about food. I don't have to think about supplements. I don't even really have to think about travel because everything's so close. Yeah, it's honestly a dream. If I didn't have my team and my family back home, I'd be in Vegas, hands down.
What is something you're going to utilize in particular at the PI in the next, couple weeks?
Definitely like I mean everything. I feel like I'm trying to be the most professional fighter, I could be, and so I'm gonna focus. I use the nutritionist here. We're talking every day, trying to figure out the best and easiest way for me to cut the weight. I use the strength conditioning. Becky, she's at the PI. She's a gangster. So I go in with her 3 days a week, and we talk about what I want to do for this camp, what I did really good last camp, and what I want to improve on. And then, Heather and the rest of her team, Bobby and Ryan, at the PT whenever I get like little injuries, I'm just trying to use it all. Ice bath, sauna, all that shit. I don't do anything else. I'm here to like train. I'm here to be the best fighter in the world, the best fighter I can be. And so I'm gonna use every tool I can.
Vegas is the city of sin. Is it easy to get caught up in the bullshit out there?
Not for me, honestly. Like I like I said, all I do is train. Like I love this shit. This is what I look forward to. I don't really, I love food. Outside of camp, I go and eat all the good food in Vegas. But I got a good girlfriend, and I don't need to go to the strip club. I am happy where I'm at with that shit. So no, and there's not a lot, pulling me away. Maybe even if I go to like a party or something, I ain't drinking. This is my fight camp. This is what I'm focusing on.
August 12th, man, you're back in action. This is your sixth straight fight in the Apex. Has that place become like your second home yet?
I guess so. I've never fought anywhere more than the Apex, I think. Which is crazy to think about. Like the Apex is literally like what I'm most familiar with. I would like to fight in front of an arena, in front of a crowd at some point, but I like the fights they're giving me there, and I keep winning. So I don't really count the Ricky fight as a loss, even though it's a loss on my record. But um, yeah, I like it. I think it's good.
There were circumstances around that fight, though. You know what I mean? Like, you got to look at it clear.
And I learned a lot from that fight. It gave me a lot of stuff to build off of. So I'm happy with it.
Yeah, and fighters talk about how fight week is so smooth in Vegas when they fight at the Apex. What is the comfortability level for you inside the venue?
It's good because like I'm a big believer in visualization. Like I visualize everything all the way up to me getting that title. I visualize me as big as me getting the title, as small as me walking into the apex getting ready for my fight. And so I've been there 5 times already, so it's easy for me to visualize the whole process, me walking in the apex, getting warmed up, walking out, getting in the arena, seeing what it looks like. And so it's people perform the best when they're the most comfortable. Some people can rise to the occasion, but a lot of people, it's just when you're comfortable you perform the best. That's why there's a lot of guys that kill it in the gym. But this makes it easy for me.
Da'Mon Blackshear, he's 1-1-1 in the UFC. How do you feel about the matchup and his fighting style?
That's kind of the coolest record in the UFC. 1-1-1. I know that's pretty badass. I think he's good everywhere. I'm actually kind of excited for this fight because I've been like labeled as the wrestler, even though I've never wrestled for school or anything. I've just like done MMA and jiu-jitsu. But I've been labeled the wrestler against the striker for my last 2 fights especially, and a couple fights on tough. So it's gonna be fun that this guy's willing to grapple. And I'm excited to show off my striking and stuff. But I think he's well rounded. I think he's good everywhere. I don't think he's great anywhere. So I think it's gonna be fun. It's gonna be a fun fight because it can go all over the place, and I feel like I'm ready everywhere it goes.
Yeah, he just picked up his first win in the UFC in early June. It's about a 2-month turnaround for him, to fight you. At this level, is quick turnarounds advisable, do you think?
It honestly depends. Sometimes it's good because if you're not injured or anything, you're in shape still. So like, you don't have to deal with that part about getting into camp, getting in shape. But sometimes if there's such thing as burnout, especially when you get older and you get like those bumps and bruises, and you like did a big weight cut and you just fucking beat yourself up for 2.5 3 months. Now you gotta go do that shit again. That gets difficult sometimes for some people, but it all depends. I hope he shows up the best he's been ever. So I want the best Damon out there.
What'd you think of his two performances this year? He's fought already twice, I mean, against Farad Basharat and Luan Lacerda last, fight. He got the finish. What'd you think of those?
I think he looked good. Like I said, I think he's like decent. He's pretty good everywhere. I think he looked good against the Ferran. That's his first name, right? Yeah, I think he yeah, Basharat. I think he looked the best against him, even though he lost. It was a decently close fight. I think he looked the best he's ever looked. And I think this last fight, like even though he got the TKO, I think the other guy was making a lot of mistakes. He gassed himself out in that first, and then he was like jumping on a heel hook. Da'Mon did all the right things, but I think he looked the best in the Basharat fight. And so yeah, like I said, I think he's decent. I think he's pretty good everywhere, and I'm excited to go anywhere with him.
Your last fight against Bakro Dana, third round TKO finish. You said during the fight you thought you won the first round, but the judges' scorecards, they said something completely different. What are your thoughts on open scoring in the Apex?
You know, I don't think it really changes a whole lot. I think it'd be kind of cool, knowing what it is going into that third round. Like, but either way, it's like I'm gonna fight the way I'm gonna fight. I'm trying to go get that finish either way. So it's like if I'm going into that third round thinking that it's 1-1, obviously I thought it was 1-1. I wasn't trying to hold off the gas pedal. I was trying to finish that fight, and I ended up getting that finish. But yeah, it was kind of weird because I think I outstruck him. I felt in control. I think they just didn't like the movement I was doing because I was circling around the cage a lot. But I was landing head kicks. I even dropped him in the end of the first, so I don't know what the judges were seeing. Just a lot of cage control. But I gave him that second for sure, and then yeah, dominated the third.
That was a really really solid win because Dana, he's had some crazy performances, right? Some serious highlight reel knockouts as well, and you went in there and kind of neutralized them, even though you had some moments. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, because like he's a super dangerous guy. Obviously, he's had three first round finishes in the UFC knockout against decent guys. So it's like going into that fight, I knew I had to be on. I knew I had to be ready for anything. Like I got dropped in that second. I let off. I had one lapse in judgment, and right off the bat in the second round he dropped me, but I recovered and I stayed composed, and it just shows what level of training I do because I was gassed at the end of that second, but I trained so much on my conditioning and all these different things that I recovered, and I actually recovered better than him, and that's how I was able to finish him in that third. I pushed the pace, and I was able to wear him out and get the TKO because I wilted him.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. And you had a couple cuts. You know what I mean? How were you physically the weeks following that fight?
Yeah, actually, I only had one cut. I got a cut above my eyebrow, and honestly, I bleed out of my nose every time I fight. Honestly, every other training session I get a bloody nose. I got this issue with my nose I need to get fixed at some point, but it just bleeds just like that. So even in the Ricky fight, people were like, "Oh, he's cut," and I'm like, "Bro, I didn't even get cut. I just had a bloody nose." And if anyone knows me that trains with me, they're like, "Oh, Brady gets a bloody nose every day." So it is what it is. But I did definitely took a couple weeks off, healed up, and I was back to training after 2 weeks. So I was doing light stuff the week after, but enjoyed my birthday because it was the following week, and then I was right back to training. So my body felt good. I had no injuries other than just the split over my eye.
That's kind of shitty, like that you bleed so easily because the judges, man, it seems like they kind of get their judgment kind of gets clouded by blood sometimes.
Oh, for sure. Like I listened to the commentary and it just pisses me off. Like in the Fernie fight, I didn't get a single cut on me, but like my whole cheek is smeared with blood because I got a bloody nose. And they're like, "Oh, Brady's wearing the damage." Dude, after that fight, I had no bruises, no cuts, no even scrapes on my face. It just looks bad because I got blood all over my face from my bloody nose. And it's like, dude, sometimes I wake up in the middle of the night with a bloody nose. It's ridiculous. I need to go to a doctor.
Oh yeah, yeah. I think you should. I think you should. Maybe you got someone at the PI could help you out, right? Like,
Yeah,
there's something with that, huh?
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
that's crazy.
I actually, yeah, actually, I did this thing with Heather. She because what happened is like I have a deviated septum, so like back here it kind of goes like an S, and when I breathe through my nose, like the wind, like the air going into my nose, like hits it and dries it out, and that's why I get bloody noses super easy. And so she was like, "Oh, we can try to straighten it out," and so she like did this thing where she stuck a balloon up into my
Oh
nose and inflated it. I have a video. It's crazy. And like so she like will do that and it'll inflate and it's almost like it's like pushing my nose back into place. And then after that she stuck her whole pinky up my nose. It was the weirdest feeling I've ever had. Yeah.
So like your deviated septum is fixed, or is it still bothering you?
I think she said you have to do it a few times. So I think a few more times and it'll be better. We're in the process.
You
So we'll
okay?
see if it works.
You know, we
Yeah.
saw what's his name, Dricus Duplessis, right? He got some like he had some nose problems. He got surgery, and he was back like a couple months later, and he looked phenomenal.
Yeah, he looked great. I think his were a little bit more serious because he couldn't even breathe out of his, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, yeah. Luckily, I can breathe. It just bleeds.
yeah. Gotta get taken care. So, what are you expecting, man, in this fight? You know, you're coming off a great win against a veteran like Dana. You know, you finished him, and you know, Blackshear. He's kind of one of the guys coming up in the division. He's not. He's still young himself as well.
Yeah, how old is he? He's 29, I think.
28.
28. Yeah, okay. So yeah, he's only 4 years older than me. So he's like, yeah, he's still young. He's coming up in the division. You know, it's just I'm just looking. I'm not looking past him by any means. I think he's a tough competitor. I think he's good everywhere. He trains at a good team, and so, but I just think I'm better everywhere. So I think if I come ready, prepared, uninjured, laser focused, I think I beat him, and that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna make a good game plan with my team. We're gonna go out there and we're just gonna execute.
How important do you think pushing the pace will be? You know, what I mean, because he's making a quick turnaround. You know, I feel like there's more to that than just like, oh, he's just returning. He's not injured. You know, you never know with a fighter, right?
Yeah, that's true. I always push the pace. I think that's one of my strengths is that I'm able to go out there and I'm able to break people. I do that in a lot of my fights. I'll go out there and I'll push a pace, and I just maintain. And eventually they break, or I just dominate the fight. And so that this is no different. I'm gonna go out there and I'm gonna push the pace. I'm gonna set stuff up. I'm gonna involve the grappling, wrestling, striking, all of it together, and just put it all together and put it on him.
Yeah, man. There's a couple guys, that are real. This division has some real young guys, on top of, the guys that are in the top 15, a little bit older. But Cameron Simon, who just fought the other day, I mean, he's pretty young. I think he's like 22. You know what I mean? Then you got Raul Rojas. He's really young. You know what I mean? He's the youngest fighter in the UFC.
Yeah,
It's
that's
pretty
crazy.
crazy.
Yeah, yeah, we're the three youngest, right, in our
Hmm.
division.
Yeah.
Yeah, and yeah, it's pretty cool. I think that's I think it's good for the UFC. I think that it shows what MMA is growing into. Like I remember training for fights when I was, in high school, not able to drive. So it's like I hear a lot of stories about like my training partners, Mike Hiestand, that didn't even start until he was like 20. They were
Yeah.
wrestling and doing all this stuff, but they didn't even start MMA until they're out of high school. And I like started before I could even drive. Before I even got into high school, I was doing jiu-jitsu. So I think it just shows like how more mainstream the sport's getting, and at the end of the day, it's good for everybody.
Without a doubt, man. August 12th, UFC Fight Night in Las Vegas. Brady, thank you so much, man, for taking the time, and all the best with the rest of the camp, and have a great performance, man, on August 12th.
I appreciate it, and thanks for having me on. I like talking with you.